Hello and welcome to Gondor Calls for Ale, a Middle-earth strategy battle games podcast. I'm, of course, your host Sam Gallagher,
And I, of course, am Ben Gallagher. It's been a little
and
while, feels like, since we did one of these, Sam. We've been doing a bunch of battle reports
yeah,
recently, and we have the flow's all wrong.
I know. I was like, oh right, I introduce you in this one. It's all upside down, topsy turvy, but we are the plurality. I can't speak. The multitude of Gondor calls for ale, the two-headed dragoon of ale, which clearly I've been having too much of already. So we're gonna just crash right into the first segment of every Gondor calls for ale, first and best segment, Ben, which is the ale. So what are you drinking?
Well, Sam, for this extra special episode, I
Mmm.
have myself a Ramus Encore Pale Ale,
Mmm.
the first line of defense against a boring night.
That's good. I like it.
What about you, Sam? What are you drinking for this extra special episode?
Well, Ben, I'm having a Brute Brown. Despite it being stronger than it once was, it's still a bit hit or miss.
Delicious, delicious.
Indeed.
Packs a bit of a wallop, perhaps.
Yeah. Just, your head feels like it's been run over. Something. There's something there.
Yeah.
All
Yeah, it
right,
gives a real
Ben.
hangover.
Well,
Leaves you feeling like there's something attached.
yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
Hooks. Hooks in the
Hooks in
eye.
your
Oh,
eyes.
anyway.
There it is. Yeah.
Anyway. Podcast. That's what we're doing here, Ben. Remind me how we do this, and remind the listener what we're talking about. So, what is this episode all about?
Well, we're going to start off this episode by looking at some cool hobby submissions from both from our Discord community and from the event that we're going to be summarizing. So
Nice.
that leads me into what this episode is mainly about, which is our attendance to the Fords of the Potomac, which was a local event down here in Northern Virginia, Southern Maryland, Baltimore area. I don't really know where I am ever.
Check it out. I think.
700 points, sort of sold as a practice for Nova event.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think we've both proved that geography and cities are not our strong suit in this podcast, Ben, by at least going to the wrong place at least once, and constantly talking about the general Texas area and other such nonsense.
Yeah, I definitely went to an event thinking it was in Massachusetts, and turns out it was in Rhode Island. I was at the right place. I just didn't know what state I was in. So, geography, not our strong suit.
No, unless we're of course talking the various lands of Middle Earth, in which case it's still a little confusing because they got sunk.
It's better than
two
my
different
American
times.
geography.
Yeah. It's just safe to say everything's in Beleriand, I think. Not really, but a lot of it seems to be. Anyway, Ben, let's get into that. Let's move on before we have a deep dive into the books that I've been reading about that. So,
All right. So we are going to dive right into our hobby highlight. Look, there it is, Sam. The map of Middle Earth. Tell us all about it.
yeah, well, it was a lot bigger because people made a mess of things and a bunch of it got sunk. And then it turned into a globe. At one point in time, it wasn't a globe, and now in this map, it is a globe. Bit weird.
Wow.
And now to go to the
People
west.
mucked around, and then it all got sunk. A tale as old as time.
Yeah.
But speaking of a tale as old as time and things sinking, here is to dwarves that go swimming with little hairy women. We got a sweet Gimli submission here. I really like the blue.
I do too. It's very cool. 3D, third-party 3D print, I assume.
Yep.
Looks like some elves in the background there. Is this maybe a preparing for a little? No, those are Rivendell elves. But I was thinking maybe defenders of Helm's Deep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
no,
not sure.
wrong.
Classic Sam spying out what's on people's workbenches.
Yeah, a little army painter, watercolor. I think. Who's to say? Look at that. Could be a Redgrass Games wet palette maybe as well. No, it's not because that grey thing's attached to. Anyway, I don't know. That's the extent of my deep Sherlock Holmesian analysis of this. It looks great. Gimli looks great. Gimli's super solid.
Yeah.
He's a really funny profile because I've been considering some armies that involve a Gimli, as I like to say. And he's like one of those profiles that's got like it's got a big chunk of rules on it. But if you're not taking Legolas, like one of the biggest parts of the rules, you just ignore. So he sort of looks like he's a more complex profile than I think he is, which is funny.
Yeah. All right, onwards, Sam, into
Oh,
the next thing, which are some sweet, sweet Easterlings here with the old metal Suladan model
yeah.
standing in as Amdur, Lord of Blades, I believe.
Oh, nice. That's a cool use for that model.
I
That's a
mean, I'm
sweet
assuming
model.
that's what he is, right?
Well,
I
it
don't
could.
see any Easterlings here or Harad here.
I mean, it could be Grand Army of the South or one of those where
That's true.
it is Suladan but leading Easterlings. I think those are also the old metal Easterlings as well. They did a made to order, but I think those are the metal pikemen,
Oh, okay.
which are really cool and a little AK interactive basing paste in the background there. I'll continue my deep analysis of people's hobby set up. No, they looked awesome. I do love the. I always think of him as Kingdom of Heaven Suladan,
Yeah, it's
the
a great
rapper
model.
king or whatever. But yeah, no, these look awesome. I love it. I would be
If it is
curious
an
to know.
Amdur proxy, I might do that sometime. Might borrow ours as Amdur one day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I also want to use that because you can the current Suladan you can is a fine cast model, but he was made in metal, and I actually really like the current Suladan model, but it's I had one painted it all up and it got broken in my case, and I am sad about it, so I haven't really fixed it.
It's the fine cast one though, right? That we
Yeah,
have that's broken. Yeah, because he
yeah,
just basically sort of like slowly melted off his horse.
yeah. Well, and he was in a magnet case. The thing popped up, and he got slammed into the front of the case, and his like banners snapped to like
Ah,
traily banners. And I was pleased with the free-handed serpent on there. And anyway, and yeah, it just all bends. So if I can ever find a metal one, I will paint a metal Suladan a version of that Suladan. And I thought that the old one, would also make a really sweet Haradrim king if you just wanted to
mm,
run an army with the like 3 attack king.
yeah, for sure, for
But
sure.
these like
So these
these
were
guys
two.
look sweet.
Sorry. Yeah, so these were two submissions from our Discord community. If you want to join our growing Discord community, look no further than the description of this episode. There's a link down there. Check it out. And if you want to see your armies featured on our podcasts, go ahead and submit them to the For the Frodo channel on our Discord there, and we will get it up there. And everyone else, all of our other faithful viewers, can check out your beautiful painting.
Yeah, yeah.
But I have more hobbying for you, Sam. More hobbying from the event. There was, of course, an armies on display, and I took some pictures and thought that since we didn't have any list submissions from our Discord community this week, I thought it would be a good chance to look over some more beautifully painted miniatures. So here we go. We got a beautiful Moria dragon.
Yeah, a little classic, a little Rygoch, the red dragon there.
Yeah, really striking.
I I do like the big base is intense, but I actually like it a lot. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it doesn't
Bunch
look
of-
too big on the dragon. The dragon's not swamped by that base, which I was a
No,
little worried about when I first saw that base change.
I do think because this is. I was going to say I know this is Tom's, but his name is also on the slide. Oh look, there's looking into the west there. You can see a troll butt. I do like that Tom has built up stuff on the base on the sides, and I imagine if you didn't have those like cobbles or the skeletons and the skull and stuff, it might look a little swamped on the base. But this
Yeah.
is lovely, and I like the yellow in the wings and stuff as well.
Hmm.
Very cool
Yeah, it's really vibrant, but sort of still matches the army quite well, which is nice.
for sure.
We got some sweet, sweet. I keep wanting to say Azog Hunters, but that's not
Pits
right.
of
Pits of
Dog
Dog here.
Yeah,
I think this took home favorite evil army actually.
yeah, yeah,
Very
yeah.
nicely painted. I like the green banner. Um,
Yeah, no, I
Definitely.
mean this is a super cool army, and Matt. I was like, it begins with an M, but I couldn't pull the name, and once again, it's sitting right there. Matt's armies always look really awesome.
They
I
do.
think
They do.
the first time I ever met him, he had a sweet Khazad-dûm army in the previous edition, so before it was cool. That won best painted at one of the escalation series of tournaments, and it was really nice looking. So he always does such a lovely job, and I really like that he brought this army and is trying it, because it's definitely taken a little bit of a hit
Yeah, it has. But he did quite well with it. I think he went 2-1 with it. So
Nice.
it did well with it. And, cool inclusion of the spiders as well. It's definitely a fun list. It's one that I'm excited to give this list a go, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, look, close up. More. We got Thrain the Broken and the Keeper of the Dungeons.
Nice.
All gross and grungy.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
You know what they say, Ben. Thick thighs save lives. He's come down with the thickness. I do love that keeper. I do love that Keeper of the Dungeon model.
Oh, it's so good. So good. Awesome. All right, so that is it for my hobby inclusion. I saw these cool beacon objectives or markers or terrain pieces on the table and took a picture of Pippin next to it. So that, Sam, signals the beacons are lit. Let us dive on into this event.
Sounds good to me. Let's do it.
So we're going to take it away with my army list. Here it is, at 700 points of Atop the Walls. We have 36 models, of course, led by Gandalf the White. He is riding upon Shadowfax and bearing with him Peregrine Took, guard of the Citadel. In his warband, there are 11 warriors of Minas Tirith with shield, 5 warriors of Minas Tirith with shield and spear, 1 warrior of Minas Tirith with banner, and 1 knight of Minas Tirith. Then we have Iralas, captain of the guard. He's got 3 warriors of Minas Tirith with shield, and 9 Citadel Guard with spear. And in our final warband, we have the Avenger Bolt Thrower with the Swift Reload upgrade.
I believe you'll find it's Avenger the Bolt Thrower.
Correct. Avenger the Bolt Thrower, ready to avenge and throw some bolts with a Swift Reload, yeah. There it is, Sam. Threw it together, wasn't sure what I was going to play for this, picked this at the last minute, and had an absolute blast with it, which we will get on into.
Yeah.
But before we do, let's hear about your list.
All right, Ben. I am bringing the army of Gundabad, as this was a practice for Nova. I thought I'd bring one of the versions of the list I'd written to play at Nova. It is 31 models, led by Azog, the Defiler. He's got heavy armor because he has to, and the Stone Flail because killing troops is nice. You've got 1 Gundabad Orc Warrior with banner and shield, 6 Gundabad Orc Warriors with shield, 6 Gundabad Orc Warriors with spear, and 1 Troll Brute. We've got a Gundabad Orc Captain with 4 Gundabad Orc Warriors with shield, and 5 Gundabad Orc Warriors with spear. And then the final warband is a Goblin Mercenary Captain with 4 Goblin Mercenaries. So we went a little spear heavy in this. Well, 1 additional spear than shield. That gives Azog or the Captain somebody to give them a spear support. And I really wanted to try the Troll Brute. It seemed really good, certainly compared to what it was in this edition. War Beasts are awesome. It's a super cool model, and I've been wanting to try one for a very long time, so I thought this would be the time.
Yeah, and it seemed like a good event to try out the Troll before committing to 5 games with it at Nova.
Yeah, and the big thing is I wanted to try out Azog. The sort of argument for taking Azog over Bolg, right, is Bolg is just objectively better. For 5 points less, you can put him on the Warg, which is huge. You can potentially get that Master of Bat or the Mighty Hero. But the auto-passing the first failed Courage, I think, is potentially fairly good. And then the other real reason is that you might be able to get away with dropping... so I've got 4 additional slots in Azog's Warband, so you could drop one of the other heroes. Basically, you could not take the Mercenary Captain or not take the Gundabad Captain and still not basically use him for auto pass Courage and the first or the additional
Extra
3 spots in the Warband, and the Stone Flail for if you run into a Balrog. Rather than striking to 10 and going to a roll off, you could just roll it and be like, look, I wound you on 3s and do 2 wounds a hit. That's hilarious.
Knock you over.
Yeah. So wanted to try him. I don't think he was. I was unsure. I thought he might be okay, and so rather than committing to, as you said, 5 games with Azog, I thought I would give him a go.
Well, Sam, why don't we get on into round 1, where we're going into your game first, Sam. So we were playing the new veto system at this tournament, which is both players roll a dice. The player who rolls lowest throws out 1 scenario out of the scenario pool. The player who rolled higher then throws out another scenario, and the players then roll a dice to randomly determine which of the remaining 2 scenarios are played. So what scenario did you end up with for round 1?
I ended up playing Sites of Power. We were in the Maelstrom pool, and before you get into that, I am going to use this podcast where nobody can truly respond to me and say that I was never a huge fan of the veto system, and this new veto system sucks. It's like all of the worst things I think about the veto system, and then on top of that, you can still just get fucked by a roll. So,
Yeah.
might as well just make it a one roll that you have no control over, is my thoughts about it. It's not I was like, fine, we can do the veto system if GW like adds it to their match play guide of like, this is a way to do, or a way to play, but they didn't. So I don't know why we're so attached to the veto system in a way that it no longer works, where you're like, you end up with one scenario. Because at the beginning of the event, there had to be who gets to roll which one of the two remaining ones is it? Is it the person who which it functionally doesn't matter, but it's just an extra it's just an extra thing.
Psychologically, Sam, I want to roll that dice because I have the power then.
Sure.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm not a huge fan. I wasn't a huge fan of the veto system last edition. I'm less of a fan of the upgraded or the revised veto system with 4 scenarios. It feels clunky and weird. Especially this early into the edition, we don't need to be trying to fix matchups and things just yet, I don't think.
Right. Yeah.
But enough of that.
You want to give us a dramatic reading of Sights of Power, Ben?
I surely do. Sights of Power, a Maelstrom mission, as Sam said, also fighting in the dark of the night. We have 4 objectives scattered around the board, evenly distributed, and a game that ends when one force has been reduced to 25% of its starting number. For each objective marker, you score 1 victory point if you have more models within 3 inches of it than your opponent. If you have at least twice as many models as your opponent, you instead score 2 victory points. If you are the only player to have models within 3 inches, instead you score 3 victory points. 1 victory point if the enemy army is broken at the end of the game, 3 if they are broken and you are not. 1 victory point for wounding the enemy general, 3 for slaying the enemy general. 1 victory point if the model with the highest points cost in your opponent's army that was not their general was wounded during the game. If that model was killed, you instead score 2 victory points. Additionally, we have a strange aura. At the beginning of each priority phase, roll a d6 and consult the table below. On a 1 or a 2, we get a feel no pain within 3 inches of an objective. 6 plus feel no pain. On a 3 through 4, until the end of a turn, any model within 3 inches of an objective automatically pass courage test they are required to take. And on a 5 or a 6, we get to reroll 1s to wound while within 3 inches of an objective. Nice. A fairly new scenario to the podcast, Sam. I don't know that we've played this one on air on the podcast yet.
I don't think we have. All right, well, I will get into it. I was playing Chris, friend of the show. I think the last time I played him, he destroyed me with Rise of the Necromancer against my army of Gothmog. And the time before that, I got very lucky, and he just absolutely whiffed a final combat with an Aragorn, and he needed to kill like 1 model and failed to do so. So I think going into this game, Chris and I were 1-1. Chris is a great dude, and I always enjoy playing with him. And it's also a little unfortunate for him because I feel comfortable with him, and so I get a little more salty perhaps than is ideal. So if you want to. I guess I can say what he was playing. He was playing Khazad-dûm, which was super cool. We were playing on a Khazad-dûm board, which was also super cool. His army was, of course, led by Durin. He had I think he had he had a captain. He had the King's Champion, which comes with 2 heralds. And then some number of Dwarf Warriors, a fair number of Khazad Guard, which were all Hearthguard, I believe, in Durin's warband, and I think about 8 Dwarf Rangers.
Nice.
So this was an interesting...
I was going to say, one of the victory conditions is wounding the most expensive model, killing the most expensive model. How do you guys resolve that? Yeah,
so we called the judge over, Casey, who was running the event, just to see if he had a thought about how to handle that, because Chris runs a bunch of awesome events himself, and he was saying in his events he's just basically going to skip those models, those multi-part models that you buy as one choice. He's just going to be like, we're going to ignore them, we're going to go to the next most expensive model, which would have been his captain. I suggested another way to do it would be the way that you played it at Defense of the North, or the way it was ruled at Defense of the North, which is as long as you wound one of those parts of the model, you get points for that. But to get the full points, you have to kill all 3 of them. which is objectively the worst way for me. And then the final one was the Casey said, the event organizer was like, or you could just ignore the heralds and you have to, it's wound the king's champion, kill the king's champion, you know, like he's all of the points of the thing. And he didn't have a strong preference, neither Chris or I had a strong preference. Like I said, my suggested way was the worst way, I think, or the most detrimental for me, and we just rolled a dice and it ended up going to that way. So we played it as I got a wound, or I got 1 point if I wounded any of them, but to get the 4 points, I had to kill all 3.
Gotcha. Nice. All right.
So this being a Maelstrom mission, we rolled for first turn priority, and Chris won, and he gave me priority. I rolled a 3 for Azog, and he, you can see, put me off on basically the middle of one side of the board. I then rolled a 2 for my Orc captain, and decided to not spend the might, because you can't might it down anymore, and I didn't want to spend 2 might to be able to put myself next to Azog, and I was like, well, I get 3 marches, so I should be able to link my armies up. This was a hindsight being 2020. I definitely should have done that, or should have spent the might. And the Goblin Mercenary Captain was ambushing. So Chris rolled a 6 for Durin. Oh no, he didn't roll Durin first. He rolled a 2 with his captain, and I put him on basically the opposite corner of my Orc captain. He rolled a 3 for the King's champion. Basically, I just spread him out. But on his side of the board, and then he rolled a 6 for Durin, and he hummed and herd and decided to put him basically right behind, or right to the left-hand side of my Azog's Warband, which has the Troll Brute in it, and he was within charge range of the Troll Brute. So, which, you know, it was sort of going to go one of 2 ways, I think, after that. Which we then get into turn 2, where Chris again wins priority, and he chooses to keep priority. I waved the banner of Gundabad. Actually, if you want to go back before we reveal what ended up happening there, Ben, but
sure, yeah.
If you were watching, you could have potentially seen. So I chose to use the banner of Gundabad for 3 heroic marches, and I decided to call a move with the Troll Brute. My thought being, I could move, and I could have rotated him in such a way that would have gone into about 3. I probably would have got 2 hits into Khazad and then hit Durin. I then would have been trapped probably, or would have been surrounded. He can't be trapped, which I sort of had forgotten about in this game. But Chris decided to call a move with Durin, and the move, and I was humming and hurring, because the other thing I could do is, if I win the move, the Troll Brute just walks 6 inches away. The dwarves are going to have a hard time catching him, and I can basically just join my armies up, or as he's like trying to chase me down or whatever, I can turn the Brute round and get a more opportune trample. But none of that mattered, because the move went to Chris. We can now move on into the next slide, where he was able to charge enough I think he put Durin and the dwarf into the Troll Brute and couldn't get anyone else to reach, and then just sort of like bubbled the rest of the dwarves around. I decided to I was able to get Azog into 1 dwarf. I was actually able to get Azog into into 1. I could almost get him into 2 dwarfs to try and peel 1 off the Troll Brute. And then I was like, well, I can call a combat and then go into Durin, but of course I didn't have priority, so Chris could have just put that second one into the Troll Brute. Anyway, I think there may be another picture, so if you want to move forwards. So I basically I charge his models. I decide to I guess at the end of my move I roll for the Goblin Mercenaries. I think I pass and decide not to bring them in. I decide to call a heroic combat with Azog, and I lose the combat and have to spend a point of might or I win the combat and have to spend a point of might to kill the 1 dwarf I'm fighting. I then go into another 2 dwarves, which is when Chris was like, well, I'm just going to put this other dwarf into the Troll Brute anyway, so you're going to fight. So he then let me put it in such a way that I would be fighting 2 dwarves. He then won that fight and put a wound on Azog, which I failed my fate. Turn but I don't think I may have lost some models, but I did lose the fight with the Troll Brute. He only took 2 wounds, so not super tragic. There, turn 3 goes to me. I decide to, I keep priority, and this is it. Then Chris doesn't call anything. It's the perfect time. The Troll Brute can rotate and squash some dwarves. So I rotate him. I trample into one Khazad, and as I'm about to roll the dice, I'm like, this is it. I'm gonna like not do any wounds. I then proceeded to not do any wounds. Azog, I think, ends up getting into Durin and another dwarf. And neither of us. I've used the Banner of Angmar here, I should say. The mercenaries fail their roll, and Chris keeps them off. Neither of us decide to strike because we're both the same fight. We'll just let it go to a roll off. We've each got 2 might left, I think, at this point in time. And I think do we both go to the 6, or do I just not? Anyway, Durin wins the fight. Does 1 wound to Azog, and then rolls like a 3 and spends his last 2 points of might to kill Azog. So Azog dies on turn 3. And I lose 3 or 4 other models. So I've now lost all of my banners. The combat. It looks like the combat goes to good, so we must have both rolled the 6, and it went to him, and he was able to kill Azog there. Turn 4 goes to Chris again. He keeps priority. At this point, there's my only might is on my captain. The Troll Brute had to spend his might for the move. Azog's dead. The captain's not doing anything, so it doesn't really matter. Chris surrounds or he puts enough dwarves in, because you can't trap the Troll Brute because it's a war beast, but he puts enough dwarves in and kills Troll Brute on turn 4. I do manage to kill 3 dwarves. I sort of was like, look, this game's definitely over, and then like in all the other fights, like won the fight and then got the 6 to kill a dwarf. So that was
nice. Coming back when it doesn't matter. Gotta love it.
Yeah. And then basically like none of it. The rest of it is a moot point. He's got dominant 2 dwarves running around all over the place. I do eventually my captain and his little warband end up doing battle with the King's Champion and his little warband. And nice. I think I either win enough priorities or call a move. I call 2 moves over there, and I basically am able to get the captain solo fighting a herald and trap him. And over the course of, I think, 2 turns, I kill one of the heralds, which was nice. And that sort of little fight is going better for me. Eventually, the Goblin mercenaries come on, and they're able to jump on a piece of terrain that's like sort of directly between 2 objectives. This cool one there. They all then like sprint off to the final to an objective on that side. Manage to kill enough of the dwarves, and on the final, like a crucial turn, we roll, and the objective is the strange aura is auto passing courage tests, which is great because that keeps my captain around, which keeps all the goblins around. So, I do hold one of the objectives, I think. But yeah, it's sort of like Azog dying on turn 3, which is the actual turn 2 of the game, because turn 1's just moving, and then Troll Brute not getting a single trample off, or he got 1 but failed to do anything. Was kind of the like big swing of the game there. So it ended up being a major loss, 2-17. So fairly rough. I think I must have got 1 point for having more models by the objective, and 1 point for killing one of the heralds. Like I said, hindsight being 2020, I should have spent the might on that captain to move him next to Azog's warband.
It's so tough though. A 2 might hero blowing all of their might just to arrive together. You're right. It is the right thing to do, but it's a tough call to make.
Yeah. No, absolutely. 2 is essentially now the worst thing you can roll, because you can't might it down. 100%. So if you are only 2 might, and lots of things are only 2 might now. So a rough game. Definitely felt it. I think I was definitely like, oh yeah, Bolg would have been way better in this situation because he would have had more move to get around into the dwarves. on that fight that I won and had to spend the point of might, he would have had another 5 dice on top of what I rolled with Azog. You know,
Yeah. Plus Bolga's ancient enemies. Surely Azog rolled some ones. For some reason, Azog doesn't have ancient enemies, dwarves.
yeah. So first game sort of proved that like, whoa, Azog maybe not the right choice here, and also that
Also, other than playing me, literally the last time you played was Adepticon.
that's true, and also that putting all of the eggs in the troll brute shaped basket is a little bit disappointing because essentially I would have happily lost the game with the same result or less points, but if I'd walked over a warband of dwarves, I would have been like, done. Had a great time. That was so much fun. Or even got a couple tramples off, killed a couple things. But nobody's going to let you do that because it's so swingy. It's sort of like, of course, this is a tournament. I'm going to try and win. Makes sense. But I'm also, unlike, I don't know, letting you do some dumb stuff with one character. It's sort of like, I can't justify being like, fine. I won't call the move here. Have a trample. So
I mean, you almost did. You just got unlucky.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks to have both lost the. Had I won that move off and just walked away from Durin and his warband, it could have been a very different game.
Yeah, I think that would have been the move, and it would have been a really interesting game because then you've got the free marches to march to the corners. Go beat up on the King's Champion with your whole army or something.
Yeah. But 'twas not to be. So that was my game one, Ben. How did your game one go?
Well, my game one went swimmingly, went so well, in fact, went awesomely. I was playing against DJ, and he was bringing the host of the Dragon Emperor. He had, of course, the Dragon Emperor. He had a Dragon Knight on foot, and Brogir the Sorcerer. And we ended up playing Command the Battlefield.
Excellent. All right, I will give you a dramatic.
Which I have the wrong deployment map.
Oh, you sure do. Look at that. There are no objectives on Command the Battlefield here, but it is a Maelstrom rule, so I better describe the deployment zone to you rather than get you a box because you'd be looking at the wrong one. All right, Ben, we have a game that lasts until one force has been reduced to 25% of its starting number. We've got some victory points. You score 1 victory point for each quarter of the battlefield that has more friendly models than enemy models wholly within it. For each quarter of the battlefield that has at least double. That's a weird way. That has at least double the number of friendly models wholly within it than enemy models. Instead, you score 2 for each quarter that has only friendly models within it. You score 3. You score 1 victory point if the enemy army is broken. If the enemy army is broken and yours is not, instead you score 3. You score 1 victory point if the enemy general is wounded. If the enemy general is removed as a casualty, instead you score 3. And you score 2 victory points if the enemy army has been reduced to 25% of its starting number at the end of the game. Special rules are, of course, Maelstrom of Battle and Worthless Land. The center of the battlefield provides very little tactical value, and so not much, and is so not much use to either force. Models wholly within 12 of the center, interesting, of the battlefield do not count as being in any table quarter for working out victory points. There we have it. It's wholly within, so you can have half of your base within 12, and still be scoring that victory point. That
doesn't it say on the scoring table quarters doesn't it say wholly within the table quarter? Believe it.
Nope, just more models than friendly. Oh, it does wholly within. Huh.
Yeah.
That's then.
It's in there. It's in there redundantly.
Yeah, sure. All right. Let's get to it.
All right, so we were playing on this cool Arm and Hen board. Obviously, the land around Arm and Hen was no man's land, and the bolt thrower deploys on the board. I don't know if you knew this, Sam. The bolt thrower deploys on the board in Maelstrom. Doesn't roll and walk on. So I set it down on the table corner in the front left of this image. You can kind of see it in the cluster of Minister Earth Warriors there, just mostly because it had a pretty commanding view of the battlefield to command the battlefield from, if you will.
Perfect.
I won the roll-off for priority and gave DJ priority for turn 1. The Dragon Emperor rolled a 3, and I put him in the middle of the, let's call that the eastern board edge, coming in there behind the Fallen Head. The Dragon Knight rolls I think he rolled a 4, and so he came in the middle of the northern board edge, adjacent sort of to the Dragon Emperor, and Brogir rolled a 5 and came in sort of behind the Dragon Emperor's warband. Brogir had 2 of the War Drakes in his warband and a handful of Easterlings with a bows as well. So I rolled a 5 with Gandalf, I think. Yeah, and came in on the eastern board edge. I decided to come in basically the same board edge that the Dragon Emperor came in, just on the other side of that fallen head. So we're going to rush across the battlefield there, and make sure that we get out of the way of the bolt thrower, because the bolt thrower, you can see that there's 9 Easterlings on that flank behind the fallen head. The bolt thrower's got clear line of sight. We're just going to mow down some Easterlings, I decided. Irolas rolled a 4, comes in opposite the Dragon Knight. So we've got a nice symmetrical Maelstrom deployment for both players here. Whirl up the Avenger bolt thrower. Rolls a 6. 6 shots this turn. Not a single hit.
Nice.
Turn 2, rinse, repeat. Gandalf makes himself terrifying as he rides onto the board, I should say. I take priority for turn 2. Win the roll off. Give DJ priority for turn 2. Brogir spends a point of will and fails to cast Fury this turn. He sounds the drum, and all the Easterlings drum towards the middle of the table, starting to spread out a bit. A couple of the Dragon Knights guys are running to the far corners of the board, but the rest of his warband's heading towards the center of the board. It's weird. There's no man's land in the center of the board, and yet we both rushed to the middle of the board and kind of fought in this no man's land. Just because of the way the no man's land works out on this board, there kind of isn't a way for us to move. We to get into each other's table quarters, we have to go through each other or through the no man's land.
Sure.
Avenger bolt thrower, those Easterlings are still just rushing straight at the bolt thrower. They could have gone behind that fallen head. They didn't. They're just rushing the bolt thrower. Avenger bolt thrower crew's all right, this time we get 5 shots this time, not a single hit. DJ takes turn 3 priority. Elects to keep priority this turn, which I thought was interesting. I also should say Gandalf decided he was just going to harass the Dragon Emperor. Spent a point of will to Sorcerer's Blast the Dragon Emperor, but didn't successfully cast it.
Sure.
No, I Sorcerer's blasted Brogir. I thought that would be funny, a better target to harass. He's lower defense, but either way, the spell didn't cast. So DJ takes turn 3 priority. Elects to take priority. Sounds the drum a second time. The Avenger bolt thrower we reposition. We're moving towards the center of the board. This image is 2 turns on, I think. The Avenger bolt thrower gets another 6 shots this turn. Still doesn't get any hits. Yeah, I've rolled so many dice with that bolt thrower, shooting into the same guys. Gandalf throws another Sorcerer's Blast. Successfully cast it this time. Is throwing it at the Dragon Emperor. The Dragon Emperor spends 1 will and successfully resists it and gets his will back. Ooh, boo! He's got magic resistance as well. I was trying to wear him down. You never know. Turn 4, I win the roll off and give it to DJ, because at this point we're still outside of charge range from each other, because we've both been moving sort of across the board but not toward each other, in 2 parallel lines. The bolt thrower has been whirling up. So he sounds the drum 1 more time, which I thought was really interesting, because he just basically rushed most of his army up against the sides of Arm and Hen. I guess basically it gave the Dragon Emperor's warband enough time to hook up with the Dragon Knight's warband. Maybe that was his idea. So you basically got Arm and Hen with the 2 Wardrakes next to it, and then a line of Easterlings, the Dragon Emperor, the Fallen Head, and then a bunch more Easterlings. And he sort of drums into that position. I push up, but don't engage, because there's really no reason for me to engage. I've got this bolt thrower, and I'm going to get some kills with it, goddammit. This time the bolt thrower gets 6 shots, and we get 2 kills. 2 kills from the bolt thrower. Yep, finally did something with it. And I went maximum aggression and threw Gandalf into 2 Wardrakes. And transfixed the Dragon Knight on the way in. And killed one of the Wardrakes and put another wound on the other one this turn. So that was pretty satisfying. I take the next turn priority and elect to keep it. We get a move off between the Dragon Emperor and Irolas. The Dragon Emperor wins the move off, and we get this big scrum happening here that you can see. Fortunately, the Dragon Emperor is not close enough to the Wardrakes that he's not getting the Wardrakes, so Gandalf still gets to act this turn. Transfixes the Dragon Knight again. No, I'm sorry, he doesn't transfix the Dragon Knight again. He fails to transfix the Dragon Knight again. Goes back into combat. We pile some guys in. The Dragon Knight challenges Gandalf this turn. The Dragon Knight countercharges Gandalf. Challenges Gandalf. Gandalf accepts the challenge. Strikes up and just obliterates the Dragon Knight in a single shot, because the Dragon Knight doesn't have strike. And it's basically Gandalf's 5 dice against the Dragon Knights. So basically, I got to strike for free. It was a cool challenge. I love challenge. I think it's cool. I think it's fun. I do get the idea, but basically, let Gandalf strike for free against the Dragon Knight, versus if he hadn't challenged, I wouldn't have struck probably, and it would have gone to the Fight 6 Elven Blade roll-off.
Well, the Dragon Knight I don't think has an Elven Blade, but
Right. So it would have been a tie
I
fight
see what you're saying. Sure,
with
sure.
my 4 dice against his 3 dice. As it
Yeah.
was my 5 dice against his 4 dice when I've got the high fight.
Yeah.
I don't think the challenge was the right call because if I kill the Dragon Knight, I get my might back.
And you get +1 to wound, so.
And I get +1 to wound. Yeah, and strength 5. I think he's D6. Anyway, so Gandalf absolutely just obliterates the Dragon Knight this turn. Unfortunately, the Easterlings, getting +2 to wound if you're getting +1 to wound if you're backed up by at least two guys is pretty saucy. The Easterlings inflicted 7 casualties on me this turn, and I only managed to kill 4 in return, including Gandalf slaying down. Although we did manage to kill the other Wardrake, which is nice. They kind of had me stressed out because they do weird things, and I didn't want them on the table anymore. So I killed them very quickly, and they went away. DJ takes the next turn priority. We get another move off. Pippin calls a move, and the Dragon Emperor calls another move. And once again, oh no, this time Good wins the move off, which is good. We like that. That's what we want to see. And battle lines re-engage. Basically, it's kind of the same sort of thing. Gandalf's going in, doing all the work for me. Kills another 2 guys, another couple of kills from my warriors, and I take another 7 casualties this turn. Brogir throws out a channeled tremor this turn, and manages to knock over a handful of guys. Didn't really do a lot with it. I forgot to say this. He did a channeled tremor last turn that didn't do anything either. Brogir had a rough game this game. He did 2 Furies in the early days, both of which he failed to cast, and then he's done these 2 channeled. Anyway, so the scrum continues. We're getting to turn 7. I've taken pretty heavy casualties, but I win priority. We do not get another move off, so I've gotten to move first 2 turns in a row, despite having taken the casualties. I've got better board position, I think, is sort of what's happening.
Mm.
And there's Gandalf slaying the Wardrakes. Look. Basically, not a whole lot of interesting things happen as far as the characters go this turn, but I only take 2 casualties and kill 4 Easterlings. So I've killed 4 Easterlings every single turn of combat. Just the first 2 I took, I think I lost 12 guys on the first 2 turns, or 14 guys on the first 2 turns. So I'm almost broken at this point and have not really inflicted that many casualties in return. But it is okay because it's all coming up Ben. I take the next priority. No more move-offs. Gandalf charges into the Dragon Emperor. I will say that I was feeling the power of the White Wizard, Gandalf charging in. I had forgotten the Dragon Emperor was fight 7, so I went into this fight thinking that we were tie fight. We are not tie fight, as in fact. Turns out the Dragon Emperor is fight 7. So we both strike this turn. Gandalf strikes to 9. The Dragon Emperor strikes to 10. Dragon Emperor wins the fight and basically burns 3 of Gandalf's fate, but I am unscathed. Elsewhere, we do not take a single casualty this turn. I believe at this point in the game, I'm 1 model away from breaking. Don't take a single casualty. Kill 3 more Easterlings with the rest of my army, just slowly winning the grind. I take the next turn priority. Gandalf charges into the Dragon Emperor again. Now the Dragon Emperor is out of might. Gandalf has still got might because he's got buckets of might. Gandalf strikes up and manages to pull 3 fate off the dragon. Wins the fight, pulls 3 fate off the Dragon Emperor, and gets 2 wounds through. Dang. So I can't remember how many wounds I dealt. I think I dealt 4 wounds and he failed 1. He passed 2 fate, failed 1, or no, that wouldn't add up. Anyway, either way, 2 wounds taken off the Dragon Emperor, and another Easterling killed elsewhere on the board. DJ takes turn 10 priority, but he is out of might at this point. So Irolas calls another move. And basically Gandalf runs away from the Dragon Emperor. It felt shitty. But the Dragon Emperor is just inside the 12-inch bubble of no man's land, and basically Gandalf sort of rides around the other side of the sunken head to try and get more bodies in that corner of the field, because I have actually somehow won the middle of the field, which doesn't matter at all, but I'm losing this flank where I actually outnumber the Easterlings. My Avenger Bolt Thrower crew at one point charges in. The Siege Veteran spends his might to kill an Easterling. The Avenger Bolt Thrower guy, who's modeled without any weapons, without any war gear, he's just got big thick gloves on, gets into an Easterling and strangles him to death, and then puts a wound on Brogir.
Nice.
But either way, we're sort of losing the fight on the flank.
Do you have any more
over the next
pictures?
turns, I don't take a single casualty, and slowly I'm just killing 2 or 3 Easterlings a turn. And I can't remember if this game ended on conditions. I think it ended on time. But at the end of the game, it comes out a 7-5 victory for me. DJ failed Two huge courage tests. Once I broke him, he had two Easterlings in the backfield, two in one table quarter and one in another table quarter, and the one who was the only one in the table quarter ran away. One of the two also ran away, but the other one stayed. But it was huge for him to lose that one table quarter. And it also turned out that, like in the last turn, the Dragon Emperor was just able to move outside of the 12 inches of the center of the board. Is either that or the point that I've been measuring from when I thought he wasn't in the center was actually the wrong spot. Either way, it turns out that he just had more guys in that table corner by one model. But either way, a really close game. I think I ended up dismounting Pippin. Yeah, that's right. So when Gandalf disengages from the Dragon Emperor, I dismounted Pippin, dropped him off in the back table quarter, and then rode Gandalf around into the front table quarter. So I was able to score that back table quarter. Yeah, super fun game. Didn't think I was going to win it after those first two turns when I took 12 casualties. And it was just, Gandalf doing all the work for me. But then my warriors came through. The +1 to wound bonus from Irolas on the Citadel Guard was really, really nice. Just to grind the Easterlings down. I will say the fight 5 on the Easterlings is just as oppressive as it ever was. And there we have it, Sam. My round 1 victory for Atop the Walls.
Nice. All right. Let's move on. I'm looking at the time and we're 45 minutes in, and I was wondering if you had more pictures. You
yeah, I got distracted talking and forgot to show more pictures. There's my bolt thrower guy fighting Brogir. And there's the end state of the board. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
Sorry. Can't multitask. All right, Sam, round 2. Hit me with the deets.
All right. Well, I was playing James and we were playing Storm the Camp.
Delightful. Storm the Camp. What scenario?
Well, while Ben looks that up for a dramatic reading, I will say he was playing the Usurpers of Edoras. So he had Freka leading his army. He had Wolf on horse. He had Thorn and a chieftain, and then I think he had 2 Crebain and a bunch of wildmen. One of whom had a horn, which was a bold choice, and and then he had a bunch of Rohirrim traitors with spear, and I think one of them had a banner.
Nice. All right, so Storm the Camp. We have diagonally opposite table corners with an 18-inch bubble for our deployment zones, which are also the campsites. The campsites are the deployment areas of the 2 armies. A campsite is captured if at the end of the game you have more models wholly within your opponent's campsite than they do. Models that are within their own campsite will defend it at all costs and will automatically pass any courage test they are required to make for the remainder of the turn. This game ends until the end of a turn in which one force has been reduced to 25% of its starting number. You get 5 victory points if you manage to capture your opponent's camp. If you have managed to capture your opponent's camp and have a hero model in your opponent's camp, you instead score 7 victory points. If you manage to capture your opponent's camp and have a banner model in your opponent's camp, you instead score 10 victory points. You score 1 victory point if the enemy army is broken, 2 if they are broken and you are not, 1 for killing the general, for wounding the general, 3 for killing the general, and 1 victory point for each model you have in your opponent camp, up to a maximum of 5 victory points. Nice. I like the updates to Storm the Camp, Sam.
Yeah, I do too. It's actually a pretty fun scenario now.
So it's not just a play to a draw.
Yeah, so we'll get right on into it. Turn 1, you can see, I think I won the roll for deployment, or maybe I didn't. Anyway, either way, his camp has a big old tower blocking half of it, which kind of works because it's a thing I can throw the Goblin mercenaries into, who are of course ambushing. And mine had a big graveyard in it. Turn 1, James wins priority, gives it to me. I use the banner of Gundabad for free marches and just throw the army forwards. He starts maneuvering some stuff up, moving around. He has a bunch of bows, which are, I must say, strength 2 bows against that troll brute is horrifying. Every time he was rolling like fistfuls of dice, I was just like, oh god. So turn 2, James also won priority, gave it to me again. I used the banner of Angmar, and the mercenaries pass their courage test. He calls a march with his chieftain, who I think is if you're looking at this picture, on the right-hand side of the tower, so he's sort of bringing them around and he's flying the Crebains. The Crebain, basically hovering around, splitting the difference, and going basically one going one way and one going the other with the intention of looping back around to my camp. I think he probably has some shots this turn, but doesn't do anything. I don't know what the next picture is, but you can probably move on. Yeah, so...
Oh, yeah, head there, come to Probane, look.
Yeah, I think this is about turn 2. Turn 3 goes to me. I give him priority this turn. I give James priority. And use the banner of Gondor once again, because I was like, well, we'll see where he ends up putting stuff, and I can always decide not to really march very far, or I can just sort of throw people forwards. This board was a little bit rough for me, just because there was the majority of the terrain on it were woods, which the Troll Brute can't go into at all, because he's a war beast. And again, nothing really happens here. There is no wounds done. I think I basically just decide to put I think I just throw everyone forwards, because I'm sort of in range of him. So you can probably move on. I think I may have gotten another picture. So this was also turn 2, where you can see adjust. So go back by 1, I guess. So this is before my move, and I just throw everyone forwards. Turn 3 or turn 4 goes to James, and he decides to keep it. I decide to call a move with the Troll Brute because he's within striking distance of... You can just about see him there. There is like 5 Rohirrim traitor and sort of 3 at the front and 2 behind line, and Thorn directly behind them. And my Troll Brute is within 6 inches of Thorn. So I was like, well, I'll call the move with the Troll Brute. See if I can get it. And I use the banner of Dol Guldur because we're going to have some combats. So I want that battlefield-wide banner. The move goes to me, and this is it, Ben.
Tasty.
The Troll Brute is ready to redeem himself, and he definitely does, because he plows in and kills every single one of those Rohirrim traitors, and then does 2 wounds to Thorn. Thorn, I believe, only has 1 fate, and he rolls like a 2 on it. And Thorn had used a point of might for the move, and so was not able to might up and pass his fate. So the Troll Brute rolls in, crushes 5 Rohirrim traitors and Thorn in 1 shot. And then the rest of the stuff goes, our lines lock. We get some fights here. Freka calls a heroic combat.
Ooh, awesome.
And Wolf initially decides to challenge Azog, because he charged into the Troll Brute, and I was like, sure, let's do this. And because James thought that he was always going to get the +1 attack and only got the +1 to wound, but I was like, I explained that's not how it worked, and he took it back, which is fine. But Freka calls a combat, kills what he's in fighting. Oh, I think maybe he was fighting the Brute, because I think James thought that he could kill the Brute in 1 go. He does win the fight, but I think just completely fails to wound the Brute this turn.
Ooh, wow.
I managed to kill another 4 models. And the Goblin Mercenaries arrive this turn as well, and they are like in the basement of this tower by his camp. And I should the emotional and psychological damage the mercenaries caused for turns of not arriving was pretty wild.
What, to you, just being stressed out that they weren't?
No, to James being like, where are they going to go? Like, I need them on. I want them on. Where are they going to jump? So, and then they basically popped up behind his army and could like sidle into the camp. I also hadn't actually bothered properly reading the scenario until later on, and was like, oh, having the captain in there is like an additional point on this. Great, cool.
Yeah, I feel like you almost, if you see Goblin Mercenaries and you're playing Storm the Camp, you almost just veto Storm the Camp against Goblin Mercenaries. They're so strong in Storm the Camp.
Unless they come on like unless they like fail and you bring them on immediately, Turn 5 goes to James as well. And I don't call anything because the Troll Brute being out of might, he can't be affected by anyone else's heroic moves. So I'm sort of once again resigned to the Troll Brute's like not going to get another trample. He's probably going to die this turn. And I use the banner of Angmar. We get into some combats. My Orc captain is on the flank on the left. Yeah, so the closest group of models in this picture. So he's separated from Azog and the Troll Brute by a tree. and is making a beeline to the camp. So he calls a combat to try and kill some more people on this flank and has to spend a point of might to win the fight. Freka calls another combat. I'm not sure who he's fighting at this point. But so Orc Captain wins the fight, and then we get into the Troll Brutes combat, which is the scary one. He's got Wolf who charged. At some point I reminded him, I was like, remember, you have to have equal to or more strength in combat with the Troll Brute, otherwise he gets to trample. So he piles guys in, and after not doing any wounds this time, I think he's got like one. He's got Wolf and like one model into him, and he gets 3 6s with Wolf to wound the Troll Brute. Now, and the Troll Brute must have taken 1 wound last turn because it was enough to kill the Brute. Well, no, he does. He just straight up does 4 wounds. That's right. He just does 4 wounds. He like is outright gonna kill it this turn. And I was like, I have the Banner of Gundabad or the Banner of Angmar. All I need is 1 6. All I need to do is pass one of these saves. Now I have one more turn with my glorious Troll Brute. And Ben, I picked up those dice, I rolled them, and I like sort of, did my toss across the table and saw one of them land, and it's a 6, and I was like, oh, he's alive. And then like looked over, and there were 2 more. I passed 3 of the 4 saves on the Banner of Angmar. I was like, amazing. Absolutely, absolutely amazing. Which is the perfect time to say, Ben, that if you also would like to pass 3 of your 4 Banner of Angmar saves on any Troll Brutes you have, then look no further than the official sponsor of Gondor Calls for Ale, the Baron of Dice, Ben, because these were beautifully hand-swirled resin dice with 0 microbubbles and have the, obviously, Gondor guarantee to roll 6s at least some of the time, and these dice showed up very well for that. And if you too would like some of these beautiful dice, you can use the link in the description of this episode and the promo code G, C, A to get a discount on dice that could even match your army. While we're doing plugs and segues, if you want some of the actual dice that I rolled, which are of course the official Baron of Dice Gondor Calls for Ale dice, then look no further than joining our Patreon. There is also a link in the description of wherever you're viewing or listening to this episode for our Patreon. It's got a bunch of more, we call them half pint, slightly shorter episodes. You can join us in hobby hangs every month, and you can get dice after, depending on your tier, it will depend on the amount of dice after how long you subscribe for. So, with plugs all out of the way, Troll Brute's still alive, kicking, and glorious. I think I only lost 1 model this turn. That's all that I marked down, and killed another 6 models.
Glorious.
Turn 6 goes to James as well. So far, I have won 1 priority in this game. And he decides to keep it. I call a move with Azog, because I'm like, at this point, I've killed enough, and I might be able to get it so the Troll Brute could get a trample. And the Chief uses last point of might for a move as well. I think the move goes to James here, and he moves a bunch of stuff around, and I'm watching him move, and he only charges that he's trying to deal with these goblin mercenaries behind him, stop Azog and his big warband from breaking through, because there are like 3 wildmen, and the way the bases are, I can't really wrap them. But he only charges the Troll Brute with Wolf, and I hummed and heard. I had told him the turn before, I didn't say anything, and went to me, and I was like, the Troll Brute's gonna trample, and then immediately felt bad because he was like, oh shit. And I was like, you know what? You can go back. You can go back and move stuff in if you want. That's fine. We can figure it out. It's 1 wildman. Take some courage test. He was like, no, you told me the last time. That's perfectly fine. So bit of a dick move by me, but I don't
know. Sometimes, you're right. Sure, dick move. You might feel bad a little bit, but you warned him last turn, and you offered the takesy backsies, and sometimes you just people need to learn lessons the hard way, and now he won't forget again.
Yeah, and I was legitimately very fine to let him if he'd wanted to take it back. It would have been totally fine. But so I trample into Wolf. I think I do 2 wounds to Wolf and kill his horse, which is a little bit more the point. And he doesn't roll the 6 on the Throne Rider. He doesn't roll the 1. I think he just takes the 2 wounds with Wolf, doesn't use any of his fate. But if Wolf wins the fight, He can't strike blows. I think I'm able. I think Azog's into Freka at this point of time. I think Freka's a little aggressively far. I'm using the banner of Gundabad. I'm able to kill Freka this turn. I just smash him with the stone flail. I think this turn as well. There were a couple turns where Wolf rolled like a 4 or a 5 again fighting the troll brute, and I was like, my chance. I can kill him, and then I like didn't get the 6 or only tied him, and he's the high fight. So turn 7 goes to me. I decide to keep it. He calls a move with Wolf. The move I call another move with Azog. I think Azog was poorly positioned for most of this game and wasn't even getting the chance for Master of Battle. The move goes to him. He does have to spend a point of will to charge the troll brute. And we just get some more fights. I think this turn he kills the troll brute, but I am able to break him because the next turn I sound the banner, the horn of Gorgoroth.
Nice.
And a bunch of his models run away. Importantly, his 2 Crabane run away, and they would have run away without that are in my camp, and they would have run away without the horn, hilariously. And he had 1 Wildman in there as well who passed despite the horn. So I don't quite remember how the game goes. At this point, I start sending the Orc Captain back. I think it what's this one end? Is this a random?
Ends on quarter.
Oh yeah, so I must have courted him. Must have been like enough of his models must have run away, because I was like, with one more turn, my orc captain is like legging it back with like 2 orcs, and I was like, I'm going to use the march banner to shoot him into my camp, but I am able to get the goblin mercenary captain into his camp and have like way more models in his camp. So this game ended a 17-6 victory. I held his camp with maximum with 5 models in there, one of whom was a character. I killed his leader and I broke him as well. So
he captured your camp. Nice.
Yeah. So it was a good game. Troll Brute got to do exactly what I wanted him to, even though he only got 1 trample. It was a glorious one. And he survived against all odds against Wolf. Had Wolf been unleashed earlier, because Wolf basically got tied up killing the troll, like fighting the troll brute the entire game. He didn't fight another model, I don't think. So yeah,
fight the Wolf once.
Yeah. But and we had a conversation. I don't think so, because like Wolf gets the re-rolls against characters or whatever, but he's fighting the war beast that's not a character, so. We determined that he didn't. I was like, we can call Casey over and get a ruling if you want. He's like, no, I don't think it counts as a character. And I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah,
as long as you're happy.
It does either.
So that was my game 2, Ben. How was your game 2?
Well, I also played Storm the Camp, Sam,
Perfect.
so we don't need to run through the scenario. And I was playing against Steve, who brought Moria. He had Drozag. Durburs was the army leader. Drozag, a goblin captain, and a cave drake. And heaps of goblins, like 16 bows. I think he matched the bows. A handful of prowlers. Good stuff. He was very, very, very concerned by the Avenger Bolt Thrower, which I used mercilessly to my advantage. So I'm going to go through this game fairly quickly, because it took a long time. There was a lot of positioning. We were playing on this, I don't know, Bree, Rohan village, whatever, random medieval peasant town, thatched roofs, a scattering of houses around the board. And the bolt thrower's in my camp. It's got a commanding view of the center of the battlefield. I should note, too, that he's got 2 bats in his army. And basically the cave drake and his army push forwards, and he pushes up so that his bows will be, in a good bow position. And his cave drake sits behind this house, and he's like pretty much ready just to sit and defend his camp against me. So I basically positioned my army and then sat outside of bow range and shot him with the bolt thrower. I was like, "Do you want to play the shooting war? Because I have a bolt thrower and you have range 18 bows."
I double your
and so on the first turn of the game, I think I had 2 in the ways on the cave drake. My bolt thrower, I'm not going to remember every single shot. On one occasion, the bolt thrower got 3 shots. Every single other time, it was either getting 5 or 6 shots a turn. It had gotten all its bad rolling out of the way with them as far as misses against the Easterlings, because it put some stress on the dragon. So Gandalf makes himself terrifying on turn 1. We position around, and by turn 3, I have, through 2 in the ways each turn, I have managed to take 1 point of fate off of the Cave Drake. Cave Drake has taken a wound and passed its fate. On turn 4, I put an actual wound through on the Cave Drake, and it's still, like, you can see, here's the bolt thrower. The Cave Drake's this purple thing in the background, like, with its head sticking out behind the house. There's this, like, well or a signpost, and then the actual house itself that might in the ways. And there's this, like, wacky stalemate. I'm sending my one knight of Minas Tirith. He's going to go score the camp for me. Is his goal. The bats are coming around to do the same thing for me. And I'm basically, like, sitting there, and he's sort of starting to push his goblins forwards. And I think at this point he's figured out, like, I'm not going to win the shooting war, because Gandalf has also got blinding light. The goblins hitting on 5s, 6s. That he's never going to do anything, even with 16 bows. And like the time's sort of running out. And but I also like didn't want to just get mauled by this Cave Drake, so I was like a little intimidated by the Cave Drake. So we had this like sort of Mexican standoff thing going on. Drozag fails to cast Fury twice.
Nice.
I think it didn't come up because he never successfully cast it, but I think he was under the misapprehension that if you cast Fury and models are within range when you cast it, if they leave the Fury bubble, they will maintain their Fury. But he never successfully cast Fury. I think he tried it. He tried it twice and didn't get it off. Again, throwing Sorcerer's Blasts at little Shaman, like, the Brogiers and Shamans is hilarious with Gandalf, because you can, like, seriously, you can hurt them with Sorcerer's Blast. So I took a point of fate off of Durazag with a Sorcerer's Blast from Gandalf on turn 5, which was pretty good. And he did, on turn 5, actually manage to get the Cave Drake completely out of line of sight of the Bolt Thrower. Like, I think we're sort of in here somewhere. Gandalf's Warband has done this, like, shuffle thing. His army's now come between these two houses. The Cave Drake's completely out of line of sight, and I'm going like, we've sort of got the standoff again. Like the Cave Drake could rush Gandalf's Warband, but then Gandalf's gonna bring the foe hammer and plow into this now wounded. It's got 5 wounds left, but it's out of fate. And Gandalf manages to charge into one of his bats, which was awesome. He left the bat within threat range. It was like, you don't need to have the bat there. You don't let Gandalf charge your bat. And he's like, I'm not worried about it. I was like, okay, whatever. Gandalf charges into the bat. Ironically, Gandalf then lost the fight against the bat.
Nice.
But and was unscathed. I like it, or maybe I won and didn't do any wounds. Completely ripped it. But the point is that Gandalf was protecting his own warband, and this turn the Avenger Bolt Thrower just kills 3 goblins because I can't see the Cave Drake to plow more shots into. Turn 6 rolls around. And we still haven't seen any combat, Sam. There's nothing still happening. The Cave Drake has now advanced around the building a little bit. There's only one in the way. The battle lines are pushed forwards. Gandalf's Warband has shimmied back to the left. And in the other turn, my knight... So I got both bats last turn. Gandalf charged one. My knight of Minas Tirith and all the warriors that were nearby managed to mob another bat. And he just shouldn't have left it there. And this bat died a terrible, terrible death. It was beaten down. So in this next turn, I think this is about here. One of the bats is dead. My Knight of Minas Tirith rides off. He's gotten in the way from one of the buildings, but he's like in that second. He's in the building closest to the Goblin deployment zone, just the half-ass end of his horse poking out from around the corner. The Bolt Thrower. This is the turn of good shooting. The Bolt Thrower whirls up. It's only got 1 in the way. It puts 2 more wounds onto the Cave Drake.
Ooh, halfway there.
Yep. Gandalf goes into the second bat and kills the second bat. But in the Goblin shooting phase. One of the Goblin Prowlers had moved and decides to throw a cheeky throwing dagger at my Knight of Minas Tirith. He hits the rider, goes through the in the way, hits the rider, and kills my Knight of Minas Tirith.
No.
Yeah. And it was one of those things, I didn't even measure to move that model. I just sort of assumed he was safe, reached over the board, and was like, he goes here. Sure. I probably had enough move to get him completely out of line of sight.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, he'll be fine. So we get into turn 7, where Steve has finally realized that this Mexican standard, the Cave Drake's not doing anything. It's getting shut down by 80 points of Bolt Thrower and is actually going to die to the Bolt Thrower if this game continues like this. So he rushes forwards with the goblins. The Cave Drake doubles back to come around the building again because it came around the building, got shot, ran away, then came back around the building. It's like, I'm coming this time for real. I'm coming. Because Gandalf has gone off to go clobber this other bat, which he does successfully kill. Durbers fires off his... We get in combat. The battle line's blocked. Durbers fires off his once per game ability, which lets them... Is it +1 to wound, or...?
I think it's So
Reroll,
yeah, something like
reroll
that.
ones or something. Anyway, it was a ridiculously effective turn. I took 6 casualties again from the goblins, which was rough. I did, however, inflict 5 casualties in return, so that was nice. Um, I take the next turn priority, which is important because basically I can push into the line of goblins and completely get out of line of sight of the cave drake because it's still walking around this building. It still can't see me, which gives me another round of shooting at the cave drake. I put one more wound on it. My siege veteran spends a point of might to do that. And I told you a lie, Sam. I told you Gandalf killed the bat. Gandalf put a wound on the bat. The bats at this point land in my camp and just sit there for the rest of the game. It was kind of funny because it only takes one person to fire the bolt thrower. So, and they're spread out, so the bats cannot stop me from shooting the bolt thrower.
Sure, yeah.
They can engage 2 of my guys, but there's always going to be one to fire. And if they charge me, then I'm going to turn around and just kill it. But conversely enough, I've got 3 models in my camp, so the one bat's not actually scoring my camp. It's not actually, so it just sat there and didn't do anything for the rest of the game. And essentially, in the middle of the next turn of combats come around, I take 2 casualties this turn and kill 8 goblins. So we're cracking back against the goblins. My Ministerious battle line is anchored against the house that the cave drake is slowly walking its way around. Gandalf is now, with the speed of Shadowfax, he's all the way on the opposite flank from the cave drake. He cannons into some goblins, calls a heroic combat, and is able to charge into Durburs. We fight Durburs and kill Durburs this turn. Game continues for another couple of turns. We both killed some more casualties. The cave drake is finally in a position to do something. Druzag enrage beasts the cave drake. The cave drake is fighting one citadel guard. He calls it heroic combat. He's in behind my battle lines. This is the last turn of the game. Dice down after this turn. We're like 5 minutes over the time or whatever. Cave drake fighting one citadel guard. The citadel guard wins the fight and puts a wound on the cave drake.
Awesome. Do you still take a hit from enraged beasts?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, it's not a hit. It's just a wound now.
Oh, did it? So was that 6 wounds?
No, it's got 1 left at the end of the game.
Ah, gotcha. That would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Super great game. I definitely played the psychological warfare game with the bolt thrower and like used it ruthlessly to my advantage.
What was the score?
And then 5-1. So I think I broke him without being broken. No, I didn't. No one was broken. So it was like leader kill, and honestly I don't remember what because I didn't get any models in his camp. He had his 1 point was having the bats in my camp.
Gandalf's great at taking camps as well, though, because he's 3 characters. I guess that
that was actually honestly it's what I should have done. It's what I initially thought, and then I just saw Durburs sitting, and I was like, "Oh, I'll just go kill Durburs." But what I should have done is called Gandalf's heroic combat, and then just gone because you can see the back of the board is open. Gandalf just go into 2 goblins, and then Shadowfax, and then him Shadowfax, and Pippin.
Well, he's dominant 3, right? Plus Pippin, so he's
plus
4
Pippin,
models.
So he's 4 models on his own.
4 models and a character.
And a character. Yes, that's what I should have done.
Yeah.
But didn't think to.
Wow.
When to go kill Durburs instead.
A classic Ben Gallagher game of, definitely a win, but is it a big enough win?
Is it a big enough win? Yeah. A game that was a Ben Gallagher game in that it was played in the movement phase. I mean, we had 6 turns of just like... It was hilarious. He definitely thought he was going to outshoot me, and I was like, no.
Nah.
My bolt thrower.
The Avenger bolt thrower, if it hits, is pretty gross.
Yeah.
All right.
Honestly, I think he should have just been like... He should have put the cave drake up front, eaten 1 or 2 rounds of shooting, and then just got it in combat. But as it was, just like trying to avoid the shooting altogether, basically let me just like whittle it away for enough turns, and then get better positioning on the board on top of it at the same time.
Yeah. Well, should we move on into the 3rd and final round?
Yeah, Sam, take it away. Round 3, what did you play?
I was playing against Aaron, and we were playing Lords of Battle, Ben. And this is probably partially where the hatred of the new veto system has begun to stem. Is it became a roll-off between it was Contest of Champions or Lords of Battle, because he was playing the Army of Dale, and I vetoed the only one with a 12-inch line. And I would have loved to play Contest of Champions with Azog and a Troll Brute in the middle, with Girion on a Windlance also in the middle. But on the roll of a dice, because I think he vetoed Assassination, because his army was Girion and 2 captains. and like a million Knights of Dale, and not a huge number of bows, but he also had the wind lance. So I think he vetoed assassination because you can't get points for the wind lance killing the thing, and he didn't have a good assassin, and his characters are squishy. Is my assumption. Anyway, so we played Lords of Battle.
All right, Lords of Battle. We have here a 24-inch deployment zone.
Good for me. Good for me.
Yeah, although I have a point, Sam. Dale get +1 to wound while they're in their own deployment zone. So 12-inch deployment zone may have actually... Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we got a game that ends on a 1 or a 2 at the end of a turn in which one force has been broken. For this scenario, you need to keep track of your wound tally. Your wound tally is equal to the number of wounds your opponent's army has suffered, regardless of how the wounds were inflicted, plus any fate points your opponent has spent. Lots of stuff that I'm not going to read there. You score 4 victory points if your wound tally is greater than your opponent's. If your wound tally is at least twice your opponent's, instead you score 8 victory points. If it's at least 3 times your opponent's, instead you score 12 victory points. 1 victory point for wounding the enemy general, 3 if you kill them, 1 victory point for breaking the enemy army, 3 if they are broken and you are not, and 1 victory point for each enemy hero model that has been removed as a casualty, up to a maximum of 2 victory points. And we also have a Time of Heroes, where we get might back for killing heroes, which is nice. All right, Sam, take it away. Windlance, the best friend of a troll brute, I'm sure.
Yeah, and if you're viewing, you can see the battlefield, and if you're listening, I'll describe it to you. There's not much terrain.
No.
There's a big destroyed tower on the left, or there's a medium destroyed tower on the left-hand flank. There's a couple of rocky formations, and then the center of the board is essentially completely open, except it's got a bunch of these little tents.
Scatter terrain.
Scatter terrain, yeah. And this is going to be fast, because this game was fast. And is an exercise in kind of like my game against Chris, where I was like, if I had stopped and considered my Maelstrom roll, I might have actually spent that 2 might, but I was just like, nah, I'm good. And this was a game where even despite having conversations with you, like I played like I normally do, which is very fast and not really thinking about it. And despite having a conversation where you're like, yeah, even if the troll brute is hiding behind something, it's better than it being dead, right? So I should, because I was at a 12-inch deployment, which is essentially where this is. I deployed on the line. The Windlance went down first, so I knew where it was going to be, which was at the 6-inch line, basically. I deployed on the line. He deployed the rest of his army around the Windlance. I should have put my whole army behind this big tower. And so I also didn't really know what Girion did.
Fair.
Anyway, turn 1, I win priority. I make Aaron go first. This was a great call. And there's that little green tent you can see, and I was like, great. I'm gonna use my banner of free marches. I'm gonna walk the troll brute up. I'm gonna at least give it an end away from this Windlance. Fantastic. So everyone calls a march. Goblin mercenaries are ambushing. I just entirely forget that siege engines have a 45-degree line of sight, and he's moved first, so Girion gets to pivot his siege engine and doesn't suffer the -1 for hitting with that. That's stupid. He hits on the 3 and has might. He can suffer a -1 for pivoting, especially when a troll catapult, if it moves, only hits on a 6. It's a fucking troll. He's a dude swiveling. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's a rule he has. But he didn't move his Windlance. If I had remembered that, I had 9 inches of move. I could have zigzagged up towards that Windlance with the troll brute, and I almost definitely, because I basically just moved directly forwards towards that greenhouse 9 inches, which actually then takes me out of there wasn't even an in the way because I positioned stupidly because I was like, just get as close as you can. And so the Windlance is pointing like directly forwards. The troll brute may have actually been out of line of sight as it was, or out of its arc as it was. If I'd gone to the other side of the house, it 100% would have been. Or tent. Anyway, so I'm rambling because what happens is we get into the shoot. So like I'm right here, right?
Oh yeah, I can see it. If you were on the other side of that tent, you
wouldn't have been able to shoot.
would have been
45
out of the arc of fire.
Yeah. So he backs up in his movement phase. I throw everyone forwards. Girion takes a shot at the troll brute. He hits, because he hits on a 2, or a 3, sorry, because why not? He rolls a 5. He gets +1 to the scatter if he's shooting at monsters. Takes it to a 6, so he auto hits the troll brute. It's defense 6 against his strength 10. 3, Troll Brute's dead. Cool, nothing I can do about that. Like, that sucks. Plus it's 4 wounds, so he's immediately at a kill tally of +4, and he kills another 3 models with shooting. At this point, I then, we roll for the next turn priority. I think he wins it and he gives it to me, and I sit there for a solid 5 minutes fuming, and trying to decide, do I just run away for the rest of the game? But I was already down, so there was no point in really doing that.
Right.
And was just kind of like, let's just get this fucking done, is eventually where I decided to go. So I just rushed forwards. This turn, I dropped the Brute Commander for the first time. I remember that Commanders doesn't just die when the Troll Brute dies, and it's an Orc Captain with 1 less might. So it's actually like a solid model. But still in the fog of rage that I have, he shoots at the commander with the Wind Lance. I'm like, fuck it, because I just had the Keeper of the Dungeon on the board, and I was like, I can't be bothered to keep track of this fucking dude, so sure, I won't. He rolled something where I got to choose for the scatter, and I was like, whatever, just kill the dude. And he was like, really? And I was like, fuck, I don't care. And so he killed my character, which was dumb of me. So that was, I was like, I'm just so fucking done with this game. This is like the least fun possible to have. Anyway, over the course of the next, I just get absolutely smashed over the course of the next game. I win some fights. I win a chunk of the fights. Being fight 4 is awesome. Being strength 4 is awesome. I'm winning a bunch of fights, killing a bunch of dudes. But I'm so far behind from the Troll Brute dying. On turn 3, I win priority. I think I give it to him to sort of see where he goes. Call a combat with my Orc Captain just to kill some more stuff. Turn 4, he wins priority and keeps it. I decide to call a combat with Azog because Azog is within 6 of Girion, who has given up the Wind Lance at this point. So Girion decides to strike, and Azog has to spend a point of might to win his heroic combat, I think. And then I decide I'm just like, screw it, I'm going into Girion. I go into Girion. He strikes up. I think he only rolls the 6, because I was like, if he strikes higher, I'm just going to stone mace him and hope, or stone flail him and hope he doesn't roll the 6. But I think he's fight 5 and only goes to fight 6, so I'm higher fight, needing 3s. I do have to spend another point of might to put the final wound on Girion and just one-shot Girion, which was very satisfying.
Vengeance for the troll!
Yeah. Too little, too late, alas. And then I totally forget that it's Time of Heroes, so Azog is out of might, and I don't give him one back.
Yeah, those sort of hidden scenario special rules can be tricky to sort of remember, especially if you're getting used to the new scenarios.
Yeah, and there's another few turns. I get a free heroic combat off a Master of Battle with Azog. My Goblin Mercenaries show up and don't do much. But basically, it's a game of just, these mass battle lines. Kind of, if he wins the fight, he kills the dude because he's got +1 for being in the deployment zone, and if I charge him, he's got a +1 as well. And it's just the army of +1 to wounds with an absurd siege weapon, if you have a monster. And so it ended up being a 13-4 victory to Aaron.
You got some points on the board.
Yeah. I killed his leader and killed a character or two or something. I think is probably what it was. And it just really sucks, and which is why I sort of talked about it in the first game against Chris. It's the sort of all of my eggs are in the Troll Brute, where I'm like, win or lose, the thing that I want to have fun with is this Troll Brute, and this was the worst of both worlds, where I both lost and it didn't get a chance to do anything. It just immediately died. And I could have played better, because I could have hidden it. I could have walked it around. I could have put pressure on that Wind Lance with the bulk of my army running forwards, and I could have walked it around that tower with free marches or calling a march on it and, running through his battle line. Or I could have zigzagged, because, granted, he won the second turn priority and gave and gave me the priority. So he could have pivoted and shot it turn 2, but maybe I call a march and I'm getting into combat with some of his guys, or at least get a chance to trample. He was a nice enough dude. I felt bad because I was really fucking pissed because it just was not fun, and the game took 45 minutes, which was the other thing. My game against Chris took no time as well because it's a low model count army, and when you within the first few turns, in Chris's case, kill both of my big things. In this one, it was Azog was still alive and did a little bit. It just the game goes so fast, so I ended up having to wait around for an hour and a half to 2 hours for the event, or an hour and a half for the round to end, and then extra time for the event to end, which is a bummer when you've just been absolutely smashed. So not a good way to end the event. Not a great event for feeling excited to go back to events. I think I was sitting there being I would have had so much more fun on the day just if we had recorded 2 battle reports or something that day instead.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So, but that's also on me. I should have known enough about myself to go, playing this thing that is swingy and not survivable is a with nothing else in the army that's really exciting is a recipe for just straight disappointment, and disappointment is not something I handle overly well. So, I think lesson at least learned a little bit there.
Yeah, well, good to lesson learn something, and hey, you sort of got a feel for the army out before Nova and committing to 5 games with it, so that's good too.
All right, Ben. Well, hopefully you had a bit more of a round 3 than me, but also one that's easy enough to report on because we are getting into a long episode here.
We sure are. All right, Sam. So for my round 3, as you can see from the correct deployment map, I played Contest of Champions, the one you wish you had played.
I dream of Contest of Champions. Let me find Contest of Champions.
And I was playing against Brooks, who brought Lurtz's scouts. I should say, too, Sam, that all 3 of my opponents at this tournament were all from the same gaming club, the Plastic Crack Anonymous Gaming Club. They were the only 3 people from their gaming club there. Apparently, they were primarily 40K gaming group, but they've been, they're into Middle Earth. They've been indoctrinating some people, dragging them in. So they all got to face against the wrath of the White Wizard.
All right, well, we've got a weird deployment zone. Basically, you have to deploy your general within 3 inches of the center of the battlefield on your half of the board. So it's a 6-inch bubble. Yours goes on your side. And then it's a 24-inch up deployment zone broken into 2 12-inch bands. For each of your war bands, you roll a d6, and on a 1, 2, 3, you can deploy from 0 to 12 inches. On a 4+, you can deploy anywhere in your 24-inch table half. We have a game that lasts until one army is being reduced to 25% of its starting number. And basically, you're keeping track of the number of kills your champion does. I think you get to nominate a champion. That's a thing now, right?
You do. It's in the... I had to read through this now. It's in the setup.
Gotcha, yeah. So, anyway, you can nominate a champion. But if you keep track of the number of kills your champion has. You score 4 victory points if your champion has killed more models than your opponent's champion. If your champion has killed at least 2 and twice as many, instead you score 8. If your champion's killed at least 3 and 3 times as many, instead you score 12. You score 2 victory points if your champion kills the opposing champion. You score 1 victory point if the enemy army is broken at the end of the game. If the enemy army is broken and yours is not, instead you score 3. You score 1 victory point if the enemy general is alive if your general is alive at the end of the game. If your general is alive and has suffered no wounds, instead you score 3. We have 2 special rules for this game. We have a Time of Heroes, and we have Stand and Fight. At the start of every move phase, the champion that has currently the fewest number of kills may declare a heroic move during the move phase for free. If they do, they must charge an enemy model.
Awesome. So I deployed first, Gandalf in the middle of the board, Lurtz in the middle of the board. Irolas rolled the bolt thrower obviously goes down before all that happens, 6 inches off the back edge. Irolas rolled a 1, 2, or a 3, which is not the result that I wanted, so he has to deploy at the 12-inch line. Fortunately, Ugluk and at least one of the captains did the same thing. And the center point of our board was bracketed by a pond with a bridge over it and some trees. So there was sort of like this pretty decent spot for a shield wall to fight in, which was awesome for me because Lurtz's scouts had 40-odd Uruk-hai to my 36 warriors of Minas Tirith, and what I didn't want was them to like just come swarming around the flanks. I took turn 1 priority. I should say, too, that I've now managed to win 2 of my 3 games. Usually when I do this, I always, when I do this, I lose my next game. And anyway, so this was a sweaty, stressful game, and I took, I think, 4 pictures of this game. So this is we're going to stay on this picture for a while.
Fair.
Gandalf throws, so I take turn 1 priority. The captain one of the captains did deploy near Lurtz. He calls a move. He's got more might than me. I decided to let him have that move. I've got warriors in front of Gandalf. Gandalf's not getting countercharged. And basically, Lurtz's warband and Lurtz just rush into my shield wall. Great, awesome, that's what we like to see. Except because most of my spears are with Irolas, it's pretty much just like, you remember back to my army list, there's 11 warriors with shield in Gandalf's warband and 4 with spear or 5 with spear or something like that. So it's mostly just my shield wall that the Uruk-hai are smashing into. Gandalf goes flying off around the flank, throws a sorcerer's blast at Lurtz because it's funny. I do successfully cast it. Unfortunately, Lurtz both resists it and resists it on the 6, so I don't even whittle one of his will away, which was like extra frustrating. Gandalf goes into combat with 2 Uruk-hai this turn, and we get some good old-fashioned fighting. Gandalf gets 2 kills, which is what we like to see. Elsewhere down the battle line, I kill another 3 Uruk-hai, but only lose 1 of my models. Importantly, Lurtz completely biffs. He wins his fight and then doesn't inflict a single wound, which was very key. Also, being defense 7 in shield wall against the strength 4 Uruk-hai was life-saving. Brooks takes the next turn priority, and Irolas is now close enough. He's moved up. He's within 6 inches of some guys. We get a move off on turn 2 between the captain that called a move last turn, so that captain is now out of might. The move off goes to the Uruk-hai. Battle lines relock. Gandalf goes into, gets tied up by 1 Uruk-hai, so he's not casting any spells this turn. He does kill that Uruk-hai, so Gandalf's now on 3 kills. Lurtz calls a free heroic combat this turn and fails to kill a single model. I don't know if he lost the fight. He won the fight. He was winning his fights. He just couldn't kill anyone. I kill another 5 Uruk-hai and take another 3 casualties this turn. I take the next turn priority, and we get another move off. Lurtz gets to call a free heroic move because he is behind the kill tally on Gandalf here.
Such an awesome rule. I will say, I didn't realize you had to charge, or I didn't remember that you had to charge, and that's nice at least. Not that you would necessarily want to not be charging, but it's cool that you can't I've got to run away. Yeah.
Oh, I should say last turn too that a couple of the scouts had been coming around the flanks, and my bolt thrower rotated, got 2 kills last turn with the bolt thrower, which was pretty nice. So we get into turn 3. I take priority this turn. We get another move off between Irolas and Lurtz. The move off goes to me. Gandalf throws a sorcerer's blast at Lurtz again, who manages to resist this time. Gandalf, in the combat phase, Gandalf calls a free heroic combat, and Ugluk is now within 3. He's right next to Gandalf. Brooks threw Ugluk forwards around that flank on Gandalf's flank, rushed him forwards, and I was like, beautiful, awesome, that's what I want to see. You're a fight 5, I'm fight 6. So Gandalf calls a combat. Ugluk has to strike, and I was like, do you want to strike with Ugluk? Because Gandalf's right there. So Ugluk strikes. Gandalf goes into 2 guys, gets another 3 kills this turn, one of whom is the captain that was out of might, the scout captain that was out of might. He gets a point of might back from a time of heroes. Yep, pretty good. We get 5 kills this turn as an army and take another 3 casualties. So we're just grinding my way through Lurtz's scouts. And honestly, I like Lurtz's scouts a lot. I think it's a really cool army. I think it's one that probably really suffers from not being able to have spears. And if you can sort of see this battle line, essentially the bridge on my right-hand flank and that water feature on the right-hand flank was enough that like the scouts are having to go all the way around it to fight just a couple of guys, and I was even going to plink a couple more shots with the bolt thrower at them. On the other flank, where Gandalf and Ugluk are, it's just Gandalf like running ham, slaughtering Uruk-hai, and then Lurtz and the other captain are just jammed up in the middle, not going anywhere because Lurtz cannot get a kill to save his life. So like they couldn't, the scouts just couldn't use their numbers. It was just this horde of Uruk-hai like who really, really wish they had pikes or spears to like get some more dice in those fights. I take turn 5 priority. We get another move off. Last turn, recognizing that we were going to get a series of heroic move offs, Irolas is out of might. Gandalf wants to save his might for heroic combats. I had picked up my bolt thrower and rushed it into the center of the board so that I could call a move with my veteran. So this turn we get a move off between my veteran and Lurtz. Doesn't matter though, the move off goes to Lurtz. Lurtz is moving first. And in the combat phase, Lurtz calls another free heroic combat. Gandalf also calls a combat this turn. Gandalf gets another 3 kills, and Lurtz finally manages to get a single kill this turn. Turn 6 goes to me. We get another move off. Lurtz once again calling a free heroic move. Gandalf counter moves. The move once again goes to Lurtz. Lurtz gets into combat this turn, causes free heroic combat, and gets 4 kills from Lurtz this turn. Gandalf calls a heroic combat and biffs his roll. He was countercharged by the Uruk-hai. He's fighting one Uruk-hai. Brooks has been like putting one Uruk-hai into Gandalf and then like shooting him with all the Uruk-hai bows. He took a point of fate off a Shadowfax doing that. That was fine. So Gandalf biffs his heroic combat. Lurtz has now got 5 kills. Gandalf has got 3, 6, 10 kills. So, you know, Lurtz is catching up. 5 to 10. I was beginning to feel a bit sweaty palmed at this point. A bit stressed out. I take the next priority. Lurtz once again calls a heroic combat. At this point, I am out of might, so the scouts are just moving first. Both Lurtz and Gandalf get 1 kill each this turn. Brooks takes next turn priority, so there's no move called by Lurtz. We both get 1 more kill on the end of the turn. And this game ends not on time, but with me successfully quartering Lurtz's scouts and an 8-4 victory for atop the walls.
Very nice.
Basically, because Gandalf just slaughtered his way through hordes of Uruk-hai, and my shield wall did what it was supposed to, and Lurtz couldn't roll a 5 to wound to save his life. I think at some point Lurtz should have just started spending his might on. He must have rolled some 4s to wound, and he just should have started spending them on that.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're behind, so you're getting a free move. And you're alert, so you get a free combat. Like, what else are you really using your might for? I guess maybe you hold one back for a strike if you fight Gandalf, but that doesn't feel good. You're tied fight, but Gandalf has got the Elven Blade.
Yeah. I don't think... looking at this... oh, yeah, okay, there it is. Lurtz did. He spends... To get the 4... On the turn he gets 4 kills, Lurtz spent all 3 of his might to get those kills.
Well,
so, yeah, he was spending his might to get the kills. I think I'd have done it a couple turns earlier, maybe, because... I mean, he was obviously in combat from turn 1, and there are 4 turns before he gets a single kill.
Yeah, I mean, that's rough. That's just dice, right? That's just part of the unfortunate part of the game.
But super awesome. I think I sort of skipped over it, but I peeled all of Ugluk's might off of him by calling combats with Gandalf.
Nice.
And Ugluk was nearby and just had to strike to avoid getting rolled over by Gandalf, which was just fantastic.
Nice. So, 3-0, Ben. Very nice.
Yeah, 3-0. First time I have done that on the podcast or off of it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Feels good. Super fun. Gandalf the White atop the walls. An absolute phenomenally fun Legion to play. Can recommend to anyone out there who hasn't given it a whirl. It's everything that I wanted Gandalf to be last edition.
Yeah, and we were talking about it as well at one point in time, and he's fairly comparable to Azog of last edition, where he's just got like 1 million resources and he hits like a truck, you know, like he doesn't get he's not +1 to wound, but strength 5 is still good. Rerolling ones off Pippin. Yeah,
he's strength 5, rerolling ones, Elven Blade. He's mounted. He's got 6 fate he can spend. If he's spending the fate, he gets to reroll those fate. He's got 7 will he can spend, resistant to magic, 2 extra will for resisting magic. 4 might.
Yeah, he is not bad, which is awesome, as he should. Plus, he's got spells. He's got the utility, and he's lost compel or command, but Transfix is still great. Sorcerer's Blast is still good. you run into another wizard, you've got your staff is broken. He's a decent bet against the army of the White Hand, right? Everyone really loves that army right now. It's super good. One of the things that makes it gross is Grima Wormtongue. You just Sorceress Blast him on turn 1, and you're like, nah, sorry, pal, you're probably dead. So awesome, hell yeah. Well,
Question is, Sam, I've been thinking about this specifically with Grima Wormtongue. How much will would you spend? You get Sorceress Blast on a 5 to just rid yourself of Grima, just like right off the bat. How much will would you spend? Would you just go 2 will?
Probably. Or do you go? Do you just go?
Just risk it on the free one for a couple of turns?
I guess it depends probably on the rest of the
Because also you got to keep in mind that Gandalf will be Saruman's target for like -1 to resist rolls, surely.
Yeah. But if you can get into you're moving 12 inches where maybe Saruman's on the horse, but I think a lot of people don't put him on a horse, so it's fairly easy to nip in. Your staff is broken. Nip out. Especially if Grima's gone, you can go channel.
Your staff is broken.
Yeah. And then on top of that, if on top of that, you're resistant to magic. So
and
you're
you can fortify spirit yourself.
Yeah. So, but that's a very niche situation. I think Anyway, I think Atop the Walls is awesome. I think it's super cool. It's super themey. I mean, auto pass and courage within 12 of Gandalf is also just amazing. And if you run into Mordor, you're just laughing.
I really like that it's within 12 because it's not like the battlefield wide of Men of the West. So you do have to think a little bit about where Gandalf is going to be, which feels very Gandalf. He has to be in the right place.
Yeah, he's in the thick of it.
It.
Well, Ben, as this is pushing the 2 hour, this has got to be pushing one of the longest episodes we've done at this point in time. Do you have the standings? How did you finish up in the whole shebang?
I know where I finished up. I'm looking for the standings. I thought I saved it. I ended up being 4th.
Oh, that's the...
Yeah. 3. I don't know if they were doing minor victories or not. My win margin was never terribly huge, which is honestly my favorite games are close games.
I think I don't know if I remember 3rd place. Hunter.
I know who 3rd was.
Hunter came in 1st after winning the mirror match of the Battle of the Durins against Chris.
True mirror match.
Yeah.
I think Galadriel off would be a true mirror match.
The dwarves do have 4 dwarven mirrors, which is more than 1 elven mirror. So Hunter using Khazad-dûm, I think basically identical list to the one that Chris wrote, except I think he had 2 less rangers. And then Bruno, I believe, came in 2nd with the Host of the Witch King. And who came in 3rd?
So I thought Bruno was in 3rd.
Maybe he was. I don't remember. Boo, boo, boo. I wonder if Huzzah...
Yeah, I don't have it.
Well, Bruno came in...
Oh, no, it's Best Coast Pairings. It wasn't Longshanks. I can't look at Best Coast Pairings after the day because I'm not a member.
Well, Ben...
a fun event overall. I will say it falls a little in the Adepticon category of maybe not enough terrain on the table.
Yes,
Put it politely. I think... I hear it's difficult to get enough. I understand that it's difficult to get enough terrain to do many tables, but I think everyone needs to take a look at our current meta with all the shooting and that line in the core rulebook that says a table should be 33% terrain and do our best to achieve that lofty goal.
Yeah, I have found the pictures and can tell you the actual placings. It was Hunter in 1st, Bruno in 2nd, and Sam Frick in 3rd.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
So yeah, no.
Worth noting that you took home Best Painted Army.
With
the Army of Gundabad.
Yep, managed to finish the Troll Brute.
Was favorite Good Army, and as mentioned, Matt's army was favorite Evil Army.
Yeah, I managed to finish the Troll Brute while waiting for you to arrive in the morning because you forgot something at home and had to turn around. So. Time well spent there. I agree. Good practice for Nova event. Forge of the Potomac used to be a little bit more of a sort of narrative, flavorful event, and now it's just it's close to Nova and it's just a straight up tournament. So in that sense, I'm a little sad because I like
Yeah.
the theme, I like the narrative more than I like the strictly competitive. This was definitely, as I said, definitely a rough event for me. Just in like whatever, like I don't love losing. I'm bad at it, but I don't. It wasn't just because I lost 2 of my 3 games. It was that like the last one especially was just not fun for me. And the first one was very disappointing because the Troll Brute did nothing and Azog had a really bad game. And was definitely an event where I realized that like I would stop going to tournaments if there was an alternative. If there was an alternative to like go play at a thing like I don't know what that alternative would be, which is part of the hard thing because I don't want to go and just play narrative scenarios where it's like somebody's showed up with extra like here are all the models, come and play these games. But I think
we need more of. I mean, it's something to be said for the league structure. I don't actually know how it shakes out, but the idea of those like 80 GBL 80
yeah,
tournaments where people it's like, why are you bringing your competitive list to this? Like, go home. Like,
but
this is not the venue for that.
people still
Um,
do, and I
People
actually
still
think
do, but there's definitely a little bit of a community, like,
yeah,
shame,
but
shame.
the thing is, if you have a league and you want to win the league, you have to win events and go to the more events you go to, the more events you win, the better you're going to do. I actually think the leagues
Sure.
are detrimental um, for a community that like they're great for fostering competition in the competitive community. I personally think that they're potentially detrimental in the other way.
Hmm.
But whatever, nobody else is like be the change you want to be or see. I guess I have to start running events if I want something different, and I have to figure out what those events are. But yeah, I mean, I'll keep going to events. I have a good time. I have a bunch of friends there. It was fantastic playing and seeing Chris, even though he crushed me. I it definitely was a big it was a big change because, as you said, the last games of Middle Earth I played was at Adepticon,
Mm-hmm.
outside of playing and recording videos with you, and we pack the tables with terrain, and we're
Yes.
not, and we're taking the armies we have, which we both tend to enjoy, big smashy things and getting into combat and less dancing around and shooting, and
I
that
did realize this. We haven't done. We've like not had a shooting phase. Pretty much, like we do have a shooting phase,
yeah,
but we
but
haven't
it's
like
like
really engaged with the shooting phase in
yeah.
battle reports hardly at all.
So, so yeah, I mean, it was absolutely awesome event in the sense that I'm not fucking playing that army at Nova. Like, nope, fucking done. I was like, I probably won't play this exact army at Nova anyway. I'll probably drop Azog and put Bolg in and play a very similar army, but I'm just abandoning the army of Gundabad because I was like, I can't play 5 45-minute games, and I can't play an army that like I care too much about one thing. Like maybe if
Mm.
I had 2 Troll Brutes, but that's just signing up to lose, right? Which like might be fine, but and then the game where you play somebody with double Windlance Dale and you're like, well, see ya, I'm going to the bar.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so that was good. But I do agree. I think the terrain is a huge component of it, and for me, in the same way that you mentioned Adepticon, right, that there's this push to make the event as big as possible, and they had way more terrain than they previously did because the Adepticon spray team painted up a bunch of 3D printed terrain for the Lord of the Rings event. But it feels like with a number of the smaller events, you're like, if you don't make it a 24-person event if you can't support 24 tables. Like, cut it
Hmm.
down to 20, cut it down to 18. Like, what do you need to do to have full tables that like you can actually interact with and are sort of like a little more balanced? Because you're right, currently shooting is kind of the thing that people do. And I've been watching some of the live stream from, well, they're not live anymore, but some of the Ardicon ones, and there's definitely been an improvement of the tables, seemingly from the like hilarious pictures of the GBHL tables from previous years. But it's like a lot of just houses.
Mm.
So it's like you can
Yeah.
hide behind them, but you can't really interact with them. So that is
Yeah.
my soapbox for this episode.
Yeah. After talking about how long it was going, way to waffle on afterwards. Jeez,
I
Sam.
mean, you know me, the thing I like most about making this stuff is the sound of my own voice. And that nobody can truly respond to me, so I can just be like, they all suck, and then I can just like ignore any messages. No, I obviously don't feel that way. I think, Ben, before we wrap this up, we're going to push for another 11 minutes of content to hit that 2-hour mark. No, just kidding. I do think it is time to talk about where you can find us next and any other of those kind of things.
Where will you find us next, Tim?
Well, I was giving the listener a break from my sultry voice, but we'll keep going. I believe the next place that we will be at will be the Nova Open. We'll be playing in the doubles and the grand tournament. And on Thursday, during the day, Ben and I will be loitering around the Lord of the Rings hall with some sort of camera. We'll be playing games and recording stuff. So if you're interested on being a part of our YouTube battle reports, if you haven't checked those out, I recommend them. I watch them and find them entertaining, and so do some number of other people. But if you're interested in participating in one of those, you can show up and play. Either Ben or I, and the other one will control the camera, and we'll do a little we'll record some games for YouTube. And otherwise, after that, my current plan is to, on October 4th, attend the first of the 2 war escalation tournaments in I think it's at your hobby place in Fredericksburg, Virginia. I will check that before I drive there. That's a 650-point tournament. There's another one sometime in November. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but I won't be able to attend that. But it jumps up by 100 points to 750. And then I think December 6th or something, early in December, there is the final one, which is an 850-point tournament, which I will also be planning to attend. So there we have it. That's where I will be.
Awesome. Well, I too will be at Nova, both in the doubles and the grand tournament, and as mentioned, playing games on Thursday. And past that, I am not 100% sure what the next event I will make it to is.
Wow.
So we shall see. We shall see where we shall see me, because I do not know.
All right. Well, exciting times here at Gondor Calls for Ale. Thank you for listening to our very long episode. I'm not quite sure. We clearly haven't done one of these where we're both talking about games for a little while, because this went very long. Or maybe we haven't done one where we've done hobby highlights and other things for a while. But hopefully this has been somewhat entertaining. And we'll be back in 2 short weeks with, I believe, our coverage of Nova beginning. Thank you for listening to Gondor Calls for Ale. We hope you have enjoyed this episode. We at Gondor Calls for Ale are officially sponsored by the Baron of Dice, the producer of premium wargaming dice. These beautifully hand-swirled resin dice have no micro bubbles and are therefore perfectly balanced. With over 3,000 variants and unique designs, nearly every tabletop gaming system is represented. So check out the description of this episode for a link and a discount code. Go buy yourself some new dice and let the good times roll. We at Gondor Calls for Ale are not associated with Games Workshop, New Line Cinema, or the Tolkien Estate. We hope we have not misrepresented or offended anyone. These recordings are strictly recollections of games we've played and are not commentaries on the character or competence of our opponents. They are intended purely for entertainment, and we hope they will be taken as such. You can find us on Patreon, see the link in the description. Supporting Gondor Calls for Ale there helps us continue to produce these episodes. You can find us on Instagram at Gondor_calls_for_ale. Feel free to send us a message there. Or on Facebook as Gondor Calls for Ale, another great place to send us a message. Or you can send us an email at gondorcallsforale@gmail.com. As Boromir, Captain of the White Tower, once said, remember today, listener, today this episode was good.